Yes.
All right, hitting go now.
There's a button called Go Now.
But it says go live. Same thing.
Oh.
Like go now, only different.
What if it changed the name like every day? It's like Go Now, engage, do it.
Yeah.
It's so number one. Oh.
Yeah, this was her idea. This whole topic today. So
if it goes amazing, Stuart's to blame. If it goes appallingly, I'm to blame. The Admiral gets no blame, apparently. I invented as I was going.
exactly.
I didn't know I was going to go there, but I went a very positive way for Sylvia. Don't know where I was going, but I went there, apparently.
Yes, well, anyway, guys, welcome back. We are here to talk today to you about things. Star Trek things. This is the way. Is that right? Did I get that wrong?
Has spoken.
Anyway, yes, we're talking about first officers today. Who's the best? We're just going to well, not really going to pick a best, I don't think. We're just going to discuss them each. And...
Not a top 10 so much as a discussion about them all. Who, what, why. It's more free flow. I know you like the free flow discussions, and it'd be a weird set to kind of... I think it'd be such an obvious, like, who wins as a batch. There's not really a very good top 10, and that there's, you know... It's like, where do you place 3 to 6? It's like, does it even matter? You know?
Yeah.
They're all...
They're all good. They all got their things, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they wouldn't be first officers otherwise. But, probably a few that we will get reminded of during the course of this. So
I mean, they're the extreme, like, one-offs. And you can forgive us for not having them in the graphic, but I've been clever with what I've got. So... It'll be good. Board appeal thing.
Well, I'm sure it will be. Dan23 says Captain Sisko was mentioned. Was mentioned he was once an executive officer. All captains were. So,
Stuart, that's a great point. That's such a good point. And every admiral too.
Every admiral, yeah. So.
That's great.
Well, Sergeant Montgomery though starts out today with $2.
Yeah.
See if you get the last super chat slot as well today. Lieutenant Commander Una, the original number 1. Well, we don't know that yet. We've seen her do nothing in the cage. So, I mean, she fired a big laser at a rock and sheared the top of the mountain thing off. But
anybody could do that.
I mean that, right?
Actually, yeah anyone could do that.
I mean, we'll learn more about her soon enough, hopefully. So,
main character and everything. No, it's well, actually, I did get a picture of them, but I forgot to put them on the list because I didn't upres. So yeah, I do actually need to. Damn it.
Well,
she was there.
The answer's simple. We can just end this live right now.
Oh.
The best first officer ever is Commander Cackings.
That's nice.
Oh, see, he's blushing. I never say nice things about him, so there you go.
It's a culture shock when you do it.
He probably thinks he's dying now. Because you're being all nice to him.
Or getting demoted.
He doesn't know the news yet.
All of England is going underwater. Sorry. Is that what? 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 Yes.
Oh. Looks like my signal might not be the best, but that's okay. I'm still here.
Oh, you're fine on my end.
And Matthew DeFrida says buffering. I got a spinny thing here and I got error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience ... So if you're experiencing ... right now, let us know.
Yeah, what even is ... It's funny because it says I'm at 8,000 kilobytes, but it's red. That's a lot of kilobytes.
Oh, it says experience buffering when you hover over.
Okay, it's going down again. Okay, so it's back in the green.
Anyway.
Weird.
Green is good. Green is good. Pay the internet bills, guys.
Boo.
No, Eric. Where's the fun in that?
We
All right.
We like to live on the edge. Yeah. I'll just start sharing and you can talk to wonderful people.
Please.
So I'll see you in a minute.
Yes. The wonderful, wonderful people. So hi guys. Yes, well, the commander does all the work because that's what first officers do. I'm going to tell you guys all about super chats and supporting the channel and helping us out on a regular basis if you're able to by joining the channel with the join button down there or clicking heading over to Patreon/Trekyards. That's another monthly way to help us out as well. Please feel free to do so if you can help us out monthly. Otherwise, if you want to send a super chat and have your comment read on air, because we do read them all, make sure that you send us a super chat and your name gets highlighted and it's all fancy and stuff. And we have the last super chat slot, and it's kind of like a fun little back and forth between you guys. So if you're able to, that also helps us out and lets us know that you love us, because you do. If you want to send a PayPal, though, you can also do that. The information is down in the description of every video. Just send a PayPal to trekyards@hotmail.com, and just let us know in the regular chat that you've sent the PayPal, so that we can go on our email and check the comment or question via that and read it, obviously, on air. Also, in the description, there's a lot of other ways you can help us out, heading over to Trekyards store and getting some Trekyards merchandise, or just, saving yourself some money, clicking a link to Eagle Moss, going and using our discount code. Lots of great ways to help yourselves out and to help us out in the process as well. We really appreciate all of that. So if you're able to, please do. I didn't like the guy from Equinox, says Dan23. Wow, that's the point. You're not supposed to, I think. Wasn't Holdo's Akbar first officer. She was great. Matt, you're fired. Out. All right, well, controversial, but Kira. Well, we'll talk about them all. But yeah, absolutely. There will be some controversial opinions, perhaps. I don't know if Kira, is everybody's first thought. She's not really a first officer. Well, is she, though? She's kind of like a liaison. We're going to include her as first officer in this, obviously, but anywho.
She's quoted as that, so...
Well, yeah. But anyway, guys, yeah, so just do all the things that I said if you're able to, and we'd really appreciate that. So
I just need to retweak the graphic. But do you want to ask Sylvia if she's still there, sort of what prompted this?
Sylvia. Samuel wants to know what prompted this decision.
If anything particularly had jumped.
Well, because you guys talk about the best ships, the best captains, the best shows, the best storylines, and really, if you think about it, if you look in every series, without a good first officer, the captain's kind of sitting there twisting in the wind. The commander's sitting there twisting in the wind. Right? Like, behind every great man is a great woman kind of idea. Behind every great captain is a great commander.
Are you calling Samuel a woman?
What? He does have nice legs.
Well, a better butt than nice legs, but... Okay.
But he says he has a better butt than nice legs.
Yeah.
But, on that note, moving on.
I do have a decent butt, though, to be fair.
Anyway, that's a good answer, so thank you.
No,
Basically, I didn't have an idea for today, and I was racking my brain sitting on the couch with my coffee,
Your morning
brain
Joe.
dead, and I'm like... And she always has good ideas, and I never ask her because I'm dumb. And then I'm like, come here. And I asked her about what would be, and she came with a few. It's kind of like, But this one kind of jumped out at me. So, we're here now.
And then what did I say when you pitched it?
Kind of out of the blue, but yeah, good idea.
I was like, oh, yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Wasn't a hard sell.
And it is not a top 10 list. It's not going to be in order or anything, guys. So don't think that. It's just a discussion.
Okay.
We want to hear your thoughts as well. So by all means,
let
us know.
We'll just replace this, and then we can see all of our great second officers, first officers.
Cool. Looking forward to a fantastic graphic. I got to mute my microphone for a second.
Okay. Boom. So there you go. There's our lovely list of first officers. And through the plethora of the shows, plethora of the eras, and one interesting lot. Now, we're going to include Shelby because she was for one, but she could have been for more. So obviously, as you can see here, we've got five ladies, 2 aliens, and 3 humans. Just saying.
Interesting. I kind of forgot about Saru for
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through my list earlier. I was like,
Well, I googled it just to find the main pictures, and they had a top 11 list, and Burnham was number 11. I was like, yep. But yeah, I mean, she was a first officer for for 2 episodes, the start, and she first mutiny in Starfleet, so pretty bad one. But yeah, quite an eclectic group.
That'll be a fun discussion for sure. Lisa Jericho says, "Where is Macduff?" I mean,
Going towards Macduff.
With the, they all wake up with no memory, and you got Commander Macduff there. You know Macduff. Yeah. Anywho, yeah, Tilly. See, this is Jericho. Where's Tilly? I thought Tilly. I was going to talk about Tilly for a little bit because she was obviously the best first officer ever.
I mean,
I think you have to have the rank of commander to make this list.
I mean, that is true. She was an ensign. I mean, she was such an acting. I mean, as we saw, she was a yeoman. Like everyone here, well, most people here earned their rank, etc. And like all of them have like 4 times the experience. Anyway, Tilly. So yeah. So does everyone here stand out as being an odd one out for second in command, as being like they don't quite work as well, or and I actually see a couple that sort of stand out for different reasons.
Well, T'Pol, because she's not a member of Starfleet, she's essentially just put on there initially just kind of spy for the Vulcans or make sure the human
liaison.
She's babysitting the humans. So I mean that's an obvious one. Same with Kira. It's kind of the same thing to work with the Bajoran government. She was kind of put in that position. Other than that, no, I think they all kind of work, except for the fact that Burnham's an idiot and wants to shoot at the Klingons because it's a Vulcan hello, which just.
Although there's a reason why it's not the Starfleet hello, because the humans superseded the Vulcans because they knew better after having worked together for 100 years.
Yeah, but I mean, moving past that, she's been okay in certain situations,
but never as a first officer role. Which is interesting that she started as the first officer as her career path. Now, I look at this list and it's interesting how, yeah, Kira and Chakotay are both very outside the box. T'Pol is a different box. She's not the same, and even she wasn't there to like, different sort of thing. Whereas Kira and Chakotay are more of that. Kira more of a that aggressive. Well, come from that past. But then obviously you see that one got tapered by lack of writing and one got sharpened then dulled by lots of writing. Did Kira. But the fact they had 3 out of the however many we're going to count be sort of ones that weren't Starfleet. It's quite an interesting way of like keeping the way of doing it fresh and yet not fresh. It's like, oh yes, they were a Bajoran, they were a Maquis, they were
Yeah. Well, the other odd one out, honestly, Lisa Jericho says one seems rather animated, and I agree. Ransom is kind of the every man's man, like man. Ooh, but definitely animated. He looks different than the others. I don't know what it is. Could be the white stripe maybe on the uniform. But just something about it kind of makes his face look paler.
He's got a distinct outline.
Yeah, it's weird. But we don't really know much about Ransom, honestly. I mean, he can like rip his shirt off and be all sexy if he needs to be. But I mean, most of them could probably do that. I'd like to see a lot of them rip their shirts off. Well, at least half of them.
Although Ransom and Burnham are, and some extent Chakotay, but Ransom and Burnham are both. They are first officers, or were first officers, but on very, very, very low end ships. So, yes, they have the rank of, but on a very low part of the totem pole. So that obviously means that while Ransom might be good, he's not particularly talented. Otherwise, you'd have a better ship. He'd have earned a higher rank.
Exactly, yeah.
And Shinjo war class were nothing. They were like nothings. Whereas T'Pol was very specialist. Number 1 was one of the 12. Spock was one of the 12. Saru became first officer when it was the 1 of 1, so that's specialist. Riker was chosen the flagship, so he probably gets the top rank of all these. Yeah, he would do, wouldn't he? Chakotay was accident. Kira was a forced pairing. Shelby was also probably the second most special because she was assigned almost. And so yeah, I mean, it's interesting how since we break that down. Like Riker's easily the most qualified. Like if you look at like prestige versus rank.
Well, Riker's the career commander.
Mm-hmm.
He's the career first officer. He sticks in there as long as possible on the flagship to be where the action is and to have that prestige, and turns down 3 commands, right? Like that's pretty ballsy thing to do. And even Starfleet said, we pulled the chair out for him 3 times now. If he doesn't accept it, we're going to move past him because
we're burning the chair down at that point.
Essentially, yeah. So he's like the career first officer, number 1. He's like the poster child for first officer, I think, for all these guys. So,
well, I can imagine number 1 being a good first officer for a long time, like just wanting to be, because the captaincy is a radically different job to first officer see, and for all Mariner's faults, it does present the interesting idea of do you really want to get promoted? Do you want to have that responsibility? Do you want to have people's lives in your hands? If you don't, stay an ensign.
Yeah.
Stay just doing the basic job, but you get to have fun, you get to see planets, whatever. And so I can imagine maybe number 1 would equally just enjoy being, ostensibly in charge of the ship day to day, all the people and whatever, and let the captain make big calls because you don't necessarily want that. And obviously Spock was never a captain, so he didn't want that either. He just got the rank because he was too experienced to not get promoted. Same with Scotty.
Yeah, Spock is actually kind of an odd man out here just because he is the main science officer. But I mean, back in TOS days, the science officer generally was the second in command, or at least somebody else on a bridge station was.
Oh yeah.
So he's not. Honestly, he's not the first person that pops into my head when I think first officer. Honestly, it's Riker. For multiple reasons, and you're right too. Chakotay was in Starfleet for the Maquis. Is that correct?
Well, sorry.
Do we know what rank he was? Do we know what rank Chakotay was before he left for the Maquis? Did he hit commander?
No. I think he got most lieutenant. I really don't think.
Really?
Yeah, because he was a Maquis for a while. Like he raised the rank of Maquis captain, although I'm sure you just forcibly have your role. Let me look at that.
Yeah, because I'm not sure. Because he's another odd man out, obviously, because he is Maquis, but he's got the experience.
Exactly.
And
yeah,
and putting him in that position, I thought was a ballsy kind of dumb move on Janeway's part, considering. I mean, later we see that holodeck program where even Tuvok thought so, that there could be shady stuff going on in the background. And I don't know if I would trust him, honestly, especially with half the crew being Maquis.
Well, no, that's not true. Only 20 of 140.
Okay, well, yeah.
And they also don't know how the ship works. So, but I don't know what you mean. I mean, they've also got way more military training, potentially. I'm sure the Maquis could have taken ownership if they'd wanted to. Although, to be fair, Tuvok would have been looking, I'm sure the first year, watching down their, breathing down their necks to make sure they weren't. So he would have been on, because he was a Maquis for a couple of years in the context of faking to be one, for sure. But yeah, but Chakotay is the other man out of being as experienced as Chakotay in a different way, of being a command, at least the word commander, commanding people. Saru had no experience commanding people. Burnham had no experience commanding people up until they were, and then science is science, they're not commanding people. And even like Spock didn't really command people. Actually, if you look at the bridge, Kirk gave orders, then Kirk gave orders. There wasn't Picard gives orders and Riker gives the orders. It's like, why is he cycling the same order? While he was in the chain of command.
TOS. Yeah, in TOS it's a different structure for sure. Who's ever in active command, like Scotty, Spock, whoever, they're the one that are issuing the orders. There's no captain like above people. I don't know. It's weird because Picard says things and then everybody else does the work. Like it's like the perfect management environment for a boss.
But in fact, it's kind of, now we've all said this, it's kind of odd to think they would. Why even bother creating the role of Riker if his job is just to do lots of odd things? Like his job is just to sort of talk to people. Like there's no distinct role for him on the ship as respect to everyone else. He isn't that. I mean, so was Chakotay's, and obviously that didn't go as well for him because he was given less to do. Why would you create a role that ostensibly has very little to do? You have to give stuff. I'm sure obviously the actor made it, but why not at least? Because if he was a command track officer, what was he in? They didn't even allude to what he was in before he was in command track. I don't think he was an engineer. I doubt he was a pilot as well. Does he cost you a science?
Who are we talking about?
Riker.
Yeah.
Like, what was especially before command? I mean, you don't go into command. You have it. You start with something, then you go into command after you've earned it.
I want to say pilot, but I don't know why.
Yeah, but that was a Picard. Unless he maybe started as like a low end science, and then like decided very early on he wants to be commander, so managed to somehow shift programs. I don't know. That's weird when you think about it. Like, everyone starts as one of the divisions and then changes to command at a certain point. So now I've got to research on Chakotay and
that's okay. We got some super chats.
Oh, brilliant!
Eric Martin throws in $2. What's the Admiral's favorites?
Oh, okay. Good answer.
Who's your favorite first officer, hun?
Like, who would I want to work with?
Who would you want as your right hand man? Dun, 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 dun.
That's difficult.
Dun, 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 dun. Just so the first one that pops to mind, the best one. We don't want to go through
I'm gonna go Spock then,
Okay.
because I can be emotional.
Uh-huh.
I can be cool and calm.
Gotcha.
Right? Funny enough, I like Kira, but I wouldn't want her as my first officer. Because sometimes I just need you to shut up and listen, and not argue with me. It's like dealing with fucking teenagers.
Yeah. Okay, good answer. There you go, Eric. Eugene, 1,000 rubles. Tuvok is simultaneously the best and the worst first officer. I think I need clarification on that one, Eugene. He was never really a first officer. He should have been put in the first officer role for Voyager above Chakotay, in my opinion. But he's also the science guy. He's the Spock, essentially. Right?
But it's also a good power play to... We respect the Marquis, who are not murdering us at this point. Take second in command. That's all good.
Yeah, your signal cut out there. I didn't quite hear all that, but that's okay. Matthew DeFreitas, $2. Y'all forgot Grudge? No, we didn't, because it's a goddamn cat.
What an insane comment.
Jarzia, $5. Riker is hands down the best EXO to me, and Chakotay is pretty high up there too. But regarding characters I'd want as an EXO who weren't Trip and Data, top of my list. Yeah, I mean, every time that's your dream bridge crew, I always include Data. I always include 7 of 9. Trip's usually there, just because like they're the best of the best in their fields. So.
Almost the extreme.
What are you learning there? You learn anything good?
No, absolutely. So Chakotay, he actually joined the academy at 15, which is very young for an officer. That's like even lower than Chekhov, and he was like one of the youngest. That's like, but apparently, and this is all I check, because often they add books and they shouldn't. But it was actually his what was the phrasing they used? His sponsored by Sulu. It wasn't clarified what Sulu. But Hiraku Sulu, who would have been 107 at the time, which is totally plausible. But it could be a Demora Sulu. But a Sulu was the sponsor to get him into the academy, which is pretty cool. He was a really good.
I would think it's Akaro.
Yeah, I would, or at least daughter, at least. And then says he was a pilot, which makes sense because he did fly his own ship. To be fair, that thing. And then he actually had quite a long Starfleet career. He's actually for 20 years. From the academy to leaving, which is, if you take 4 out of the academy, 16 years in the field is pretty good. 16 years. But then he actually didn't end up on a ship, at least at the end. He was at the Starfleet's Advanced Tactical Training Academy, so he was an instructor there. So he didn't end up taking a spacebound assignment. So it doesn't say what rank he was, but I mean, you can have any rank and do that if you're talented,
Yeah.
But I assume he'd be lieutenant.
Well,
30. Huh.
Yeah, 16 years experience is damn.
Yeah, that's more than I thought you had.
I don't remember the conversation that was had in Voyager when they were trying to decide this, because I know Tuvok was considered, but Janeway decided to trust Chakotay, and
Yep.
it made for that interesting dynamic for great storytelling and dramatic purposes. But I don't know if that's necessarily how it would have gone down on my ship. Just got to say.
Yeah, I remember the scene is like, you know, I had to pass you up because, you know, we all do this together, Tuvok, and that was the biggest sign of trust. We're not two crews or one crew.
Yes. Which I think was a big gamble, honestly.
Super big gamble. Luckily, not most Maquis weren't Starfleet. Luckily, he was Starfleet and had that baseline. And the reason he left Maquis, it says in the thing, is because his father got killed defending a colony from the Cardassians. It was extremely personal. So he wasn't some really mean guy. He was very much in a very specific way. I mean, he's not bland, but he's super controlled in the show. So you can see he still maintained that Starfleet discipline. Clearly served him well in his Maquis years.
My question is, should we put Rios on this list? Because he was a first officer for a while. And at least maybe have a discussion about that at some point here. But
that's a tricky one, though, because we don't know his ship, his crew, his life, his world. But yes, but I'm not going to put the picture up. But I do like that as a comment.
We know a bit about it, you know.
Well, we know what they are, not anything about them, is what I mean. Like, if I said picture the ship, you'd be like,
It's a sovereign, beefier a little bit.
Well, yeah, no, it's the it's not. It's the
Eben. No,
yeah. Eben Major, but it's the same as the it's the same as the DS9 ship, isn't it? They just put the picture of on the box. So it's the same as
Amatil?
Yeah, it's the same class, which is annoying in its own way. Because they already bought the sketch, so.
Squadron course, $2.
Thank you.
In the Navy, EXO can do every job on the ship.
Mm.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure that's necessarily the case on a Starfleet ship, but I do like the way that in TNG it breaks it down, because the captain talks to the first officer. The first officer talks to all the department heads.
Yep.
So engineering, sciences, whatever, they're in charge of talking to the Geordie or whoever's in charge of each department. And then those guys take over for the rest of the department and hand it down to different managers and sub-managers and all that shit. It's a great command structure. On TOS, you never get that feeling, ever. It's like Kirk's king. He's final decision.
Yeah.
Regardless, people are there to give him suggestions, but he can choose to ignore them. But he never tells somebody else to really do the job that he would do. He would just go down and talk to Scotty.
Yeah.
It's a smaller ship. It's a different environment.
Well, to be fair, though, he just would call him. In TNG, you don't often see him calling down. They do, but not often. Which actually is an interesting choice. There is. Yeah. I was saying
I missed all that.
No, I was saying, well, you're right, but then in TOS, he just calls down to engineering. By the intercom on his chair. It does happen, but doesn't happen very often for Picard. So they want that physical interaction, or rather than just calling LaForge, she sends Riker to talk to LaForge sometimes.
And going to your super chat there about knowing everything on the ship, I mean, Janeway knows every bit of her ship.
That's true.
She knows every crawl, Jeffrey's shoe. I assume Picard does as well. You don't you kind of get
a lot more ships
sometimes.
There's a lot more.
Kirk's probably. Yeah. Kirk's probably the same way. Knows every corner of the ship. I don't know if I would trust Kirk to be able to jury rig like something in engineering to make something work, though.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get that feel for me.
Although he did manage to, I think, didn't he do some of the Constellation hot wiring? Didn't he do that auxiliary command? Wasn't Scotty doing stuff in engineering and he's on
he was doing some. He was doing some in auxiliary command while Scotty was down in engineering doing the mythic stuff. But
I think is
he was doing a little bit.
Which I think was actually the pilot controls. I think he actually did do the pilot stuff. That's
helm officer. I think that was part of his career.
I think he was
being helm officer.
Yeah.
So, so I can see them having specialities. But it's interesting that in the Navy, that you would know pretty much every department. Like that's a lot to know. That's cool.
I find that an interesting comment though, because I would not assume that, say, so what division do you say? What branch of the military?
Navy.
Navy. Okay, so say there's a new. I mean, I have to go aircraft, but say there's a new, fighter on your aircraft carrier. and it's brand new, do they expect you to sit down and read the manual and be up to date when you've got literally 1,000 things to do every day? Because that's literally the furthest thing from your job. Or is it kind of like, everything in what it was in 2015, but kind of 2017, but the tech doesn't change very often. I mean, submarine is still a submarine. Like, the raw tech doesn't change, but I can't imagine you'd know how to use the newest stuff unless it's something small, just because there's too much to learn and they're too busy, unless they've got lots of downtime. Although that said, I think they do a lot more in Star Trek than on, like, a Navy vessel. Let's be honest, they do more things. So there's more things to keep them occupied, etc. But for a lot of these people, I can see them knowing all about the ship. T'Pol can fix stuff. But in a general sense, it's like you expect them all to have first aid knowledge, scanning knowledge. I mean, they all went to the academy, but as tech improves, and obviously the longer you're a captain, the
Except
more...
for T'Pol.
Sure.
But T'Pol was like, she's a Vulcan, they're superior.
Exactly.
Their technology's superior.
Yes.
So for her, it's like, somebody that drives and can be mechanic on a modern day car with computers and all that, going to like my Camaro, like, oh yeah, this is not a problem. This is like primitive tech. I got it.
Yeah. Well,
I can look at it to figure out how it works.
Yeah, well, it's definitely like, I had this in grade school. This Warp 5 engine was my shuttle bus to school. So which is nice. That's a good way of doing it. Whereas, ironically, for Saru, it's the exact opposite. Everything here is magic to me. So I'd learn it all. No, that's really interesting. But it's like, but you wouldn't expect Kira. I know Kira's another example where she didn't go to Starfleet, and she's on a Cardassian space station. But you wouldn't expect her to know about how to work DS9 or the Defined beyond the weapon systems, like not remotely,
Everybody seemed lost on DS9 except for O'Brien. And even he had some growing pains when he first arrived, figuring stuff out. Yeah. So,
but that's the exception.
They were merging. They were honestly merging the Federation tech and the Cardassian tech. So, lots happening.
Yeah.
Next super chat, TMA $5.
Thank you.
Anybody who can do the step over the chair maneuver is the best first officer. I got a pretty high chair here. I can't do that. This is captain's chair for you. I would like pull something, and that's not good.
I like that. That's good.
Jarzy at $2. 20 years. He graduated in 2348. Joined the Maquis in 2368. Yeah, cool. Sergeant Montgomery, $3. 3 cheers for Lieutenant Castile of the Enterprise C. Hip hip hurrah. He was only a lieutenant, though.
But he was second in command for a good 15 minutes. And it was damn good.
Exactly. And he let his captain get a little piece of, shrapnel in her head. And good job, bud. Good job.
But he did take the ship back. He did pull the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
I wish that guy was in it more. I know it would have been so impractical because he was both dead and in the past, but it would have been great to have him back.
Yeah, I like him. He usually plays assholes, actor, but yeah.
He had a very gentle swagger, yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
He's an up and coming Riker. You can picture him in another 10 years being Riker.
But definitely with although he was only a bridge officer, but the fact that he took the command reins when he obviously had to, he took it so strongly, showed that if it all gone well, he would have been captain a lot quicker than his rank would have let him be, which is fine. He had good potential. Rose to the challenge.
Yeah. Eugene, 500 rubles.
Hey.
Wasn't Tuvok a first officer for Chakotay while in the Maquis? They didn't have ranks per se, but yes. I'll just continue reading and get the super chat read first. Hold on. But very, sir, considering he was actually a spy. Out of the 10 here, T'Pol Spock is overrated. Michael Burnham, not even a good officer. Yeah, well, the Maquis don't have that command structure. It's like, here's your ship, here's your group of people. People know what their special is at. There's no real command, you know what I mean?
I mean, you got the sense from the dialogue he was the ostensive second in charge, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it regimented in the same way. And if that's as low as we're going, not in a bad way, just if you meet a Vulcan ship, it's like, oh, you're second in command. So, they don't have that structure. And like I said, he was a spy, so he was a fake second in command.
Yes.
Although someone else pointed out that also Burnham never went to Starfleet Academy either. She was Vulcan Science Academy.
That's true. Yeah.
But
you think they would, once they got assigned to the ship, they'd be doing read-ups on like what you should be doing Starfleet protocol-wise, regulations.
Although obviously her cadence of coming on the ship was just like, I don't care about anybody. So I could see her being like, it's an old ship as well. And like you say, I would still assume that Vulcans would have cutting-edge tech, even at that point, compared to, like, on par, but cutting edge. She's seeing better tech than this on stuff at home on Vulcan. But I wouldn't expect Burnham to fix stuff either. I wouldn't consider that her part of her skill set. And she definitely wasn't a pilot, so she obviously came from science, but theoretical science rather than fixing it science. Whereas Spock did fix stuff, but I would say very much put a band-aid on it, rather than actually, like, if it's broken, fix it. He can. Well,
he MacGyvered it.
Yeah.
He would make it work with what he had. Absolutely. Yes.
And especially, 9 times out of 10 that was his own console or the bridge consoles. And to be fair, those things aren't that complicated. If you stay every day, he probably knows how to use those.
Or alien tech. He's always fixing the alien tech, or So.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anton Smith, $2. How about Commander Rand? She was just a glorified yeoman in flashback. She still got coffee and sandwiches for people. She wasn't really his commander, I don't think.
I never got the sense she was his second in command.
She was a commander, but she was not the first officer, the XO on that ship.
I thought the dead guy was. I know he isn't, but he had the sense he was. But they didn't bother giving a second in command in that. But also Rand has, like, so little experience. Yes, years, no big assignments.
That we know of.
Although Eugene does say when Tuvok was in the Maquis, he was Janeway's first officer, wasn't he? Well, you say that, but Janeway didn't have a ship until. She didn't have a ship until Voyager, and Voyager had a second in command who died. So.
Yes. I think she knew about the operation. She knew Tuvok for a few years. They just knew each other. I don't think that he was her second in command at all.
Well, he's one of her, like, best friends in context of, like, most respected, loved officers. But he obviously wasn't slotted to be the XO of Voyager ever.
No.
But that is, I do remember them adding that slight context there of, like, him being an old. But she didn't have a ship before Voyager. That was her first command, so there was no point. And, like, he's so much older than Janeway, and extremely experienced. Like, you wouldn't think you'd give a really experienced Vulcan to a fresh spanking new captain who hasn't even got a ship. It's like, why? What is like Rand? Is he just his yeoman Tuvok to Janeway without a ship? There's. But I get what you mean. But I don't think that quite connects.
Yeah. Ensign Ricky is here. Hello, Ensign Ricky. $5. Thank you.
There you
go. Spock has been and always shall be the best. He's above this list, in my opinion. For the rest, though, I go to Paul, Chakotay, Kira, Saru, Riker, in my opinion. Wow, Riker that far down? To Paul, like I said, Paul wasn't a first officer. She was a babysitter. I mean, come season 3, yes, she's kind of fallen in line.
Well, she's the same as Kira. And if you're including Kira, which ultimately they both serve that same role.
I just like how his top 3 are all not Starfleet officers. Paul, Chakotay, and Kira. I mean, Chakotay was, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And Kira was by the end, technically.
And Saru, who's like a primitive alien race. And then Riker. And then the guy
who can sense the coming of death.
Can they, though? Can they? I mean, my ganglia. I can sense the coming bullshit.
No, it came and gone. I already said it. So who's the smartest?
Then.
Oh, is it fair that Spock's the smartest on this list, like, and intelligence-wise? Because I'm trying to think useful factor, because intelligence does not define a good officer, but he is a good multitasker, and that he is second in command and also command officer and also science officer. So is he the most intelligent out of this list? Does that?
I mean, underneath Burnham, yes, because Burnham's obviously the best at everything. So then Spock would definitely be like the most intelligent after that. Probably Una, number one. After him, though, I think she's the way they portray her and the way they've talked about her is that she's like right there as far as intelligence goes, like with Spock. So I think yes, Spock's probably the smartest one here, besides Michael Burnham, of course, because she's obviously. By the way, guys, 86 likes, 124 people here.
Ooh.
Hit that like button. We get 100 likes easily. Hit the like button because I know some of you haven't. I'm looking at you right now. Yeah, you.
Stuart, have you clicked like?
No.
Stuart?
I gotta go back to the other thing. Oh, yeah, I'm doing it now. I usually click like earlier in the day when I set the thing up, but whatever. I'll do it right now. Hey, my likes shouldn't have to count. I'm the captain.
Stuart, every like counts. You always say that.
But I almost never like. I like maybe 30% of the time.
Oh my god.
There, I hit like 89.
See, I would say Spock is definitely the smartest, but also because he has a breadth of experience. Because he's a long career officer. And he probably could have been promoted before Enterprise, like at a certain point, to captain. Obviously was straight away for TMP, so he got there relatively quickly for what we saw of him. He was a captain for almost more of what we saw of him. So obviously TMP to Star 6 is actually a long span of time. It's more than you think. I would assume though that T'Pol is right up there because it's contextual. She's not as smart compared to the other people, but she's of a younger era. But to her crew, she's a specialist science officer from the Science Academy. She's absolutely the smartest person on Enterprise easily, and she normally gets smart situations. So I'd assume she'd be second smartest. But that is also her functional role in the show to be the Spock and smart one. Whereas I know number one from TOS is meant to be smart, but we've never seen it. And her
we don't know yet.
And her solution in the cage was shoot a gun higher. So it wasn't too much science going on there. It was just shoot a gun, a space gun.
That was the 60s, though. Let's be fair.
Exactly. So I don't even want to put her on the list necessarily. And certainly in Strange New Discovery Season 2, she didn't add anything sciencey or clever. Like she didn't add anything.
She just acted like a cold calculating computer, which is part of her personality, which makes you assume that she's super smart and just.
But she's not science officer, is she? She's a command officer.
I think she might be a science officer as well, even though we see her at the helm on the Enterprise.
Yeah, I don't know if she's science because she's in gold like Pike, where Spock's in blue, and in that convention she should be in science. I'm gonna go research this character because I don't think she's science. But you're right. What else would she be?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's much fleshed out about her. I know they did some stuff in the books, and they got Strange New Worlds coming, so we'll learn about that. But Squadron course, $2. Maybe in Starfleet, they're certified for all departments. I think yes. There's probably a minimal certification for each department. I would assume, yeah. Like just to be able to survive a crash of the shuttle.
Well, just the academy. The academy is is everything.
Yes. Before you pick your speciality, you probably like the first year or two you need to do general, and then you know what you want to do. So you've already learned the basics of everything, but then you start to specialize, and then you don't get the specialist stuff for the other departments.
And I would be shocked if a fresh-faced 17-year-old walks in and says, "I want to be a molecular biologist specializing in gaseous phenomenon," having never done. Well, but you know what I mean, like having never had any ability to really do any of that, because we associate the Trek as the high-end technology, but these starships aren't the standard. No one has this tech, civilian, because it's special high-end tech. So until you get to the academy, you kind of do this breadth of cool stuff. It's like being a filmmaker. When I was at school and went to university, like you can only get so good a camera because you can only afford so good a camera. Suddenly, universities have much better kit. You can make better-looking stuff because the kit is available. Now it's a lot easier, but it's relative to what you can get and achieve.
Yeah. We found out about
I have no. She was Command Division, so very much a Riker. So who else is a scientist on the Enterprise then? Because it wasn't the guy who got killed. He was a scientist, wasn't he? Yeah, because he was meant to be Spock.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that guy, but actually Spock was the science guy. But so actually, I wonder if there's going to be a story there then about how Spock takes over as first officer, given he's not a command track. Because once you say that, it's like, well, why would a science officer be command track, given that now 2 Enterprises in a row both have command officers as second in command? Why would you put a science guy as second in command? Because they can't do their full duty.
It's going to be a special request from either Pike, promoting him to that position for the next captain, or Una's going to die or get promoted and push Spock for that role as well, or when Kirk comes on board because they work together in Strange New Worlds, because there's going to be an episode about that, there is, then he's like, I want that guy as my first officer.
Yeah. And I've never even thought about this. That's a really good story. I want to know. You just can't take it for granted, but actually, when you start breaking this down, it's like, yeah, why? Because Chakotay, he was command track. If you break it down, Kira was command track because she was a leader. She was a military leader. She was a leader. Burnham was science, but that's again them doing their own thing. let's ignore them.
Yeah. Preston M, $5.
Thank you.
Think of Kirk as early Navy, like 1700s. Captains were king back then. Picard is more modern Navy. Yeah, exactly. They did that progression of, like, arrow-wise, and absolutely, I totally agree with that. Smaller ships too. Like Kirk probably knew the ins and outs of that ship. He knew every crawlway. He knew all the places to take the ladies where he wouldn't get caught. Let's be fair. So he knew his ship inside and out. Picard probably does to a certain degree, at least on paper. He's always looking at the schematics on his little desk thing there. He's like, oh yeah, that Jeffrey's. But he hasn't crawled through the goddamn ship, I guarantee you. Because the Galaxy classes were new ships. You got to sign the flagship. You are captain. Are you going to spend a day or a week wandering around every goddamn crawl space? No, you're going to look at them. You're going to study the schematics.
Oh my god.
Honestly, can you see a new captain like Picard crawling through the ship one day just because?
You made me happy there for a minute, Stuart, and I want to express why.
Okay.
I just have this wonderful visual in my head of, they weren't at Planitia, they were above Earth, but the Enterprise is being built, it's about finished, and Picard steps aboard. Let's assume he goes on pre the all good things, right? Let's assume he goes on early, right? And no one's there, and so he's just walking the ship. He just spends a week just walking in every room, So it says a lone guy is walking, just like, crew quarter 43A, I like it. Oh, mess hall 4. Ooh, janitor closet 14C. Yeah. Just him walking to most of the rooms. He's like, oh, I like this. This deck is taller. What? They got deck 26 2 meters higher.
Well, you got to think too. In our Galaxy class episode we did, our multi-part one, that ship is so big with such a small crew that a lot of the decks are never used. I could see them going to a deck going, shit, we've never been on this deck before.
Or, oh my god, can you actually imagine? Just like in the
that's why Citation Ops is never mentioned, because they didn't know it existed, and the whales all died because nobody fed them. The dolphins all died.
Or they like a red dwarf. They got locked and evolved over 7 years because no one knew they were there. But no, imagine though, just like in the movie theater before it was all not movie theater. I wonder if this followed on to you and to the rest of the world. But if this film felt like, okay, seating wasn't so mandatory, and it was basically empty, and you had a seat that was on a row with one other person, you'd be like, yeah, I'll sit on the row ahead of him and get a row to myself. Do you ever do that? Just like pick a full row by yourself, just because?
Yeah, absolutely.
So imagine if, and I love that point about the size of the galaxy, what if there were some people who really didn't like people, and they said, Commander Riker, can I please be assigned deck 32? And he's like, there's no one on deck 32. Yeah. And it's like, you're the only office, you're the only room that's actually on. Every other room is completely empty. There must be someone that does that. I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, we talked about it. A lot of the ship is closed down and it's just used for when they have dignitaries come on board, when they have scientific survey teams come on, they get that deck or that section. You know, a lot of other times it's just shut down because they don't need it.
Well, because you don't appreciate that this thing is designed for a massive array of activities. So, you don't just have 44 crew quarters and then say, right, 12 guys out, we got dignitaries in. No, you need to have, like, dozens of rooms of varying sizes, temperatures, ability to be modified. What if the guy's 9 foot tall? You have to have a 9 foot tall, 10 foot tall version just in case. Like, they have to have this redundancy because you are absolutely a diplomacy ship, and that's just space upon space. And who's really going to care? I mean, every corridor looks the same. I mean,
I could see one deck being the lower decks people, and it's all just trash in the hallways. Nobody cleans up. And then you get to the dignitary deck, and it's like what you see all the time. It's like perfectly clean.
Yeah. Oh, see, that would have been a good joke to actually have had, just like more distinctly deck differences. That would have been fun. Oh, I like that.
All right, where are we here?
These are some great discussions. We had this on another topic that we just blew our minds with, like, we've never talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. Jarzia, $5. Picard is an ungrateful son of a bitch when you think about it. As dedicated and loyal as Riker is, he keeps ordering people to fire at him. Fire at will. Jesus Christ.
I was wondering where that was going to go. I was really excited for that, and it just...
I wish my name was Will, because I always think that. It's like, what did I do? Sean O'Sullivan.
Thank you.
€2. Castillo eats pieces of shit for breakfast.
Oh.
What? Oh. Is that from another one of his movies?
Oh, must be. Yeah.
Dave Stelzer, $2. What about Worf as second on board the Defiant?
See, that was on the list, but since like Kira was the second in command overall, if it odd to have him as a separate this list, just because he was technically second in command when Kira wasn't on the ship when they were flying, that seemed like an odd. I think it's just because he happens to be the commander who's tactical. You know, so I didn't really class him. It's just like.
And it's the Defiant. It's a tactical ship. It's warship, and it's during wars. So
yeah, I didn't necessarily feel. And besides, he's just a good officer. I wouldn't call him a good first officer. Like I never associate him with that, because like if Sisko's on the Defiant, he's the king of that castle, that very small castle. There is no second in command. And do you think Worf wants to deal with people? Is he really giving out duty assignments? No, he's not. He's not. Sorry. Maybe technically he is, but.
Oh, it's the best line ever. Do you think Worf wants to deal with people? Nah. Somebody would say about me. Oh.
And they have.
Hey.
Oh, goodness.
Ozzy Medeiros, $5.
Ozzy.
Jar Jar is the new first officer of the USS Titan. Badgie is the captain. Federation president, skeleton hands, okie dokie.
More, we got the best quadrant.
That's the thing. Is Deanna Troi the first officer on the Titan?
Ah, that's good.
Because she's a counselor. She does have the command rank. She did do the command training. And she's boinking the captain.
And she had her command training under Will. She did all that training under Will for the command program.
Sometimes on top of Will.
I mean, sometimes she does get the better of him and rolls his thing over and just wins. I would imagine she was, I'll be honest. I mean, that was...
I think so, too.
I mean, there's no reason she'd be on the bridge in that situation. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, she's going to help with pack lids. Yeah, sure. What are they feeling, Deanna? Stupid. Thanks, Deanna.
Glad I had that swallowed.
Yeah. It's like, there's nothing to say in that situation. That should have been a Troy line. I'm sorry. Just...
That's good. That's good.
Oh, God. Love it. Love it.
Not a band account, $2. Commander Shelby gets things done and has drive. Yeah, she's like the fresh-faced first officer. Like, she wants to prove herself. Riker's like not as, even he compares himself to her at one point, saying, you know, I see my younger me in her. That sounds really dirty. You know what I mean, though. So yeah, she's definitely a go-getter. But when you get that position, you want to prove yourself, and I think she played that very well because that's exactly what somebody in that position would do for that position. So,
and it's also interesting because she was actually a tactical officer. So to go from tactical to command training is an interesting path. And that would have been a whole different vibe.
Absolutely, yes. All right, let's see. Kai L. Wong, £5.
Thank you.
Wolf, I think you mean Worf, was first officer for Martok and his brother. He was first officer, but that's on a Klingon ship, so that's different situation altogether. Different command structure, different rules. But you are right. I mean, he was first officer on the Defiant and the Rataran. It suits him to be on the Klingon ship because he's got the Starfleet training and discipline. But yeah, honestly, I never think Worf when I think first officer. It's just not one that would pop into my mind going through any kind of lists. So, but you're all right. You're all right. And not a band account, $2. Commander Burnham is always right, even during a mutiny. Well, yeah. As you are. So, guys, I want you guys to spam the chat right now with the name of your favorite first officer. I want to see if there's a consensus. They're on screen, so pick one.
Yeah.
Put a single name. That's it. Because I want to see if there's any that match up and how many we get.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the first thing that pops into my mind every time we talk about first officers is Riker, because he is the career first officer, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's the number one.
Ah, yes.
But I would definitely like to know where he came from, because he doesn't strike me as any of the divisions specifically. Although,
sexy time division.
Yeah. Although actually, if you think about his dad, who I get the sense from his relationship with his dad was very well known and very powerful in the captaincy and admiralty. I can imagine that potentially Riker was inspired to go captain as soon as possible. So maybe he literally was like, I am going command as soon as I can. So it doesn't matter what I'm good at. I want to be in command. Based on the kind of the dad influence. What do you think?
Yeah, because he's always trying to prove himself and be better, and show up his dad essentially, like be the guy in charge. That's interesting. That's actually a very interesting point.
Because then he does the bare minimum in the academy of what he needs to be. He impresses people with his command talent. He gets a posting. He, forges forward. Because it doesn't strike me as anything else. He's a good people person. He's a good manager. He's a good, he's a good leader. Every time we see him as a separate captain, he does very well. So it seems odd that he would be anything else. Whereas everyone else, you can kind of vibe. It's like, yeah, okay, I can see him doing this.
Yeah. All right, let's see what the chat has said.
Yes.
The chat has spoken.
Okay.
We got Spock, Riker, number 1.
Yeah.
That's not fair. Not a band account. That could be anybody. Spock, Riker, Spock, Chekhov, Spock, number 1, Spock, Kira, Riker, Spock, Riker, Spock, Riker, Ransom, Spock, Riker, T'Pol, Riker, Spoker. Spoker.
He was great.
Cross between.
He was great.
Yeah. Well, that's when there's a transporter accident and Spock and Riker got fused together. You remember that episode, right?
I don't.
Oh. Hobson. Okay, so the consensus is Spock, and then Riker, I think, is right behind him there. So that makes sense. The first 2 Star Trek series is the ones that were the most impactful for people. I know Spock's a first officer, but I see him as a science officer. I see him as like, he's another one that, yes, you say first officer, but I think it was just because it's a small ship, small crew, and he's really the science officer, but he's trusted by Kirk to be the first. Well, I don't know. I don't see him as a first officer.
Well, let's double down for a second. Spock is presumably the most experienced officer on the Enterprise when Kirk takes over, right? He's already commander at that point, or at least 10 commander. The other number 1's gone, whatever. He's already been on the Enterprise for like 10 years, so he knows the ship and the crew, both previous and current. So I can imagine that, Kirk gets a chance to pick his captain, and he hears good things about Spock, and I don't know if they knew each other beforehand. I don't think they go into that. Obviously, we're not going to include JJ because it's not, the canon, whatever. So I can imagine he might be like, you know what, let's keep Spock on for a bit and see. And then, it worked. Because I can imagine him being given second command because he was the most senior officer on the ship. That's why, literally just that. It just kind of fell to you. There aren't any other commanders on the ship. So it does go to you, logically, and he's most experienced. And he can be there to help liaise with the crew and actually liaise with the crew with the captain, brand new captain. So it probably wasn't anything beyond a clever decision rather than anything personal.
Kirk relied on him the most when he got there to get introduced to the rest of the crew, get familiar with the ship, and so it just seemed like a natural.
Because he was already there, like he wasn't a new officer. Whereas obviously,
he's an accessory for the ship. He's just there.
In essence, yeah. Whereas a lot of the other people, they sort of came later. That's interesting, yeah, because Kirk was a new guy. And obviously he stayed because he did well, but yeah, I mean, do you really imagine he's doing the duty reports? I gotta imagine the crew structure is different at that point, because wouldn't that be maybe yeoman's jobs or like the enlisted to do that stuff, or even
do
like
what specifically?
The duty reports and the duty assignments, because I don't feel that would like Spock is cold-hearted science guy. I don't think he's assigning duty assignments for people and divisions. Doesn't feel like his role.
No, you're absolutely right. I would think yeomans might do that, but yeomans are more like a courier service. Give me a coffee. Take this report down to engineering. That's really what yeomans are. So let's be fair. So I'm just trying to think who would do that kind of assignment on these.
Scotty's too busy as well. Because again, these people need to be doing their jobs. They're really busy.
Yeah, because I could honestly see Uhura taking care of that.
I can honestly see
as
it
communications officer, she communicates literally everything to the ship.
Yeah.
Like duty rosters, scheduling. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get for that. So
I feel like she would know the crew the most as well.
Yeah. She's a talker.
Yeah. Oh, she's always in the lounge with everybody, because there is no communications officer in TNG, is there?
No, I love. We should talk about bridge stations during Alive, because the way they changed from TOS to TNG. But yeah, because that's all bundled in with operations. Because operations data.
Except Worf says, "Sir, the incoming hail."
That's because he handles outside threats, or if there's see, we need to talk about that because
so it is interesting. They do shift in roles distinctly, because that's
and I just watched an episode of TNG the other day where Wesley's sitting at the helm station and Riker tells him to fire. I'm like, what?
You're letting an unlisted officer shoot weapons at a thing. Great. Does your insurance cover that?
And I'm sure the way that the TNG Enterprise is set up, that yes, you can transfer whatever you need to whatever console. Yeah. That's the conceit there, right? But okay, let's see. Preston M, $5. Riker was operations on the Potemkin. He was in operations division.
Sorry, who was?
Riker on the Potemkin.
Operations on the Potemkin. Operations. So ops is
Data's position. Kind of.
That's still command track, isn't it? Basically, because Data's a bit of everything. But that's also because he's Data.
Data is also third in command of the ship.
He is. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because operations just does stuff.
If ops is anything like it is in bridge crew, you tell damage repair crews where to go. You assign different crew to different departments. So there's a lot going on with ops. But
okay, I'm gonna read his thing.
Okay. Do you need me to shut up?
No. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna read it. Olivia Julius, $5. Sorry, I'm late. Got into an accident. By the way.
Wait, is it a pug joke? Is that a pug joke or an accident?
By the way, if you lost your pool ladder on the interstate of Oklahoma City, it's destroyed. Oh, she ran over a pool ladder. I hope you're fine, Olivia. Oh my God, that's awful. Well, hope you're well, and thank you for showing up. Mark Lawrence, $5. The animated series Spock, when he was a child in the reverse time universe, is my favorite. Still had the grown man deep voice too. Makes me laugh every time. Thank you, Mark. And Olivia Julius. By the way, Samuel is the best first officer ever. I'm only saying this to get out of left cleaning duty. Greasing the turbo lifts. We've seen that in lower decks, so.
Pretty great.
And I've already said that. in this live. We almost ended it like right away because there's no contest.
Okay, so actually, he was an ops officer all the way through. His first assignment was on the Pegasus, which you knew about.
Yeah.
And then his second assignment was on the where is it? On the Potemkin, when he was promoted to lieutenant after Beta Z. After that, he was on the Hood, when he's the commanding officer. Obviously, I'm sure he worked on there until the Hood. The Enterprise, so he actually had quite a straight career. But yeah, so the con all the way. Which just feels like a bit of everything, really. I don't know how necessarily define that role. Just Star Trek con officers.
Cool. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to read Eugene's 500 ruble super chat. So thank you.
But not con.
Con. Yes.
Con.
You have the con.
Flight control. Okay, con maybe.
Yeah. T'Pol has much development. She was initially forced to be first officer, then she agreed to become one.
Yeah.
Then she actively fought to stay in that position.
Yeah.
Even Romulan spy acknowledged she was a good officer. Yeah. Like I said, she started out being a babysitter and a little bit of a spy on the humans. So, but yeah, she definitely fell into that role and then fought for it. Absolutely.
Well, she found a home, didn't she? But
they were kind of stuck there because Spock was the first Vulcan in Starfleet, as per canon. So they couldn't have her in Starfleet. So they needed to have that differentiation there. So they kind of tied their hands with shoehorning that in as well, and also trying to stay within Prime because And I still don't understand how Spock can be the first Vulcan in Starfleet when the Intrepid is full of goddamn Vulcans.
Well, they're all
unless it's an exchange program.
Well, it's
Just
fine.
A bunch of Vulcans from a cruiser come over to the.
Well, it's fine if they're all under 50, because Spock's 70. I mean, first Vulcan Starfleet 40 years ago. It's only impressive when he joined.
He's not that much older than Kirk.
I know. We had that debate at one point, and I was surprised how I assumed at least 20 years older. But that's Tuvok. Tuvok's the insanely old one. He's oh wow, Excelsior. Right.
I was in Starfleet, then I quit, then I came back.
100 years in between. It's all good. I'm pretty old.
Yeah, it's all good.
So this is weird. So actually, Con is Con/Helm. But
what era? Because each era has different.
Enterprise D, they had LaForge, O'Brien, and then but there's no Data, which you would think would be the person, and they say that Tom Paris was called a chief con officer, which obviously then pilot on Voyager.
Data was in operations. Was he operations then? I guess so.
But then Con still was a pilot. I wouldn't think he was a pilot though, as in for Riker. Unless everyone commands a pilot. Okay, let's find ops then. What's the definition of an ops role? Operations officer.
My brain hurts.
The operations officer also refers to the ops officer. Operations management was a position within the operations division. They obviously say Data served as the officer. He was doubled as the second officer. On the Enterprise, on the Voyager, Kim was the operations officer. And analytical operations relied upon knowledge of science and engineering disciplines. Operation officers often performed the additional duties of the science officer, especially when dedicated science officers were absent. And Hiroshikam is also operations, which makes sense. We don't know what she does either. So.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because you think science and engineering, that's definitely Data.
But Kim does stuff
science
too.
Officer.
Kim does a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. But they also just do stuff, because Kim also says, "Sir, being hailed," and so does Data sometimes.
So does Tuvok sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh well. You just see. Yeah, it's Kim's job. A little beepy thing comes up. He's like, I can get a promotion this week. Swipes it to the right, and it flies over to Tuvok's station. And Tuvok's like, well, that's illogical. It's not my job. Flick it over to... Oh, anyway. Not a band account, $2. Commander Ransom knows Kirk Fu and the ladies. Yeah, I actually really like Commander Ransom so far. He's definitely modeled after kind of a mix between Kirk and Riker, for sure. Olivia Julius, $10. Little known fact. I was supposed to be Trekyards' first officer. I cleaned the puggy pin and cleaned the cap scraps. Unfortunately, I didn't do good of a job that I never got promoted. Oh, but you're Federation president. So you did the political thing of like doing something else. It's fine. So we've talked almost about everybody except Saru. And Saru had to be exceptional because, first of all, he got scooped up by Giorgio because even though Prime Directive and all that, so he had to be exceptional and prove himself at the Academy and get ahead. Well, he was not first officer under Giorgio. Mm-hmm. He was first officer
under what's his name?
Lorca.
But obviously that was manipulation tactic, and Pike was because you were there, and because you were Lorca. So he's kind of like he was, and he got pushed over for second in command based on the books. But again, they were decanonized instantly. So for under Giorgio.
You gotta love when they do that, eh?
Instantly, it's like we made our money. Now let's make it irrelevant. Yay! But David Mack, I spent a year writing it.
But it's still a good read.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Except
Dave Mack is one to say doesn't care about canon. It's what's in his books is what he wants. So
it's a good read until you see the Enterprise fire at the Shinjo to destroy it, and it's like, well, that's the way they show Pike in the book is terrible. They don't care. It's like, come on, that's not Pike. Any Pike. Yeah. Jesus.
Well, Philip Cumby puts in 279 Canadian, so thank you. Hard decision. First one that comes to mind is Riker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, that's my go-to choice as well.
I mean, look at that face. Is anyone smiling?
Damn right. He's a people person.
He is.
Jeff Jacobs says Majel, or number one, or Una, whatever you want to call her. I mean, she was the first, literally the first, because of the cage. But we need to learn more about her, unfortunately. And Strange New Worlds will do that, and we'll be able to revisit this conversation at some point.
She's their strong female character, which makes sense. Yeah. So obviously she'll be a big part of it. Why wouldn't she be? Yeah. But I mean, she's fine in the cage. Like, she's just a solid fine. They're all mostly fine. Like, no one really stands out except Spock and Pike. Pike's for the wrong reasons, and Spock for the wrong reasons, but they both stand out. I'm sure Magel's stood out more at the time because woman, but now doesn't so much. And besides, it wasn't even shown. It was a failed pilot, so it was only released after the fact, so it was never even shown to people to be the first pilot. So it never just down to anybody, so it was never seen until after. But Saru is an interesting one because he's a science guy, but it's like I wouldn't associate him after he swapped from season 1 to season 2 to be like that smart. Like I think he was more of a general smart guy, but like, I mean the fact that Burnham outsmarts him in every single situation does not help the character's science cred. But like, he doesn't feel very, very, very smart to me. I mean, like, averagely good smart. But since everyone goes into their own speciality, it makes sense that, people have a ability at science. There's a big spectrum, so he's got an ability in science. But again, he was on the Shinjo, and he was on the Shinjo also because Georgia was on Shinzo, so she got him on the Shinjo, which means that even if he wasn't the best, she liked him. She saw potential in him, so he was there.
Did she get him on the Shinjo, or did Starfleet say, "You fucked up. It's your responsibility"?
Hey man,
we're assigning him to your ship.
That's totally possible. Yeah, I mean he was fine on the ship, but yeah, he doesn't. No, you're right. It's a really, really good point. You deal with you broke Prime Directive in every way. You deal with this alien. You see if he's good enough. You're the babysitter.
You want to get court-martialed, or you want him as your responsibility? Those are your choices. Oh shit. Well, fine.
Giorgio, he's your T'Pol. Oh no, you're his T'Pol. Oh no. But yeah, I mean that's fine though. You don't have to be the smartest, And like I wouldn't necessarily call T'Pol like of the smartest ever, but again, in her class, she was the smartest. But that's a much less broad field in her era,
And she was also the smartest, literally, on the ship because she had all the experience of the planets, the Vulcans had visited, the histories.
Yeah, book smart and
so there was so much there as
smart.
well. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So lots going on there. Let's talk about Michael Burnham for a half second. She wasn't even in Starfleet. She was basically told that she was going to be a first officer. And then we talked a little bit about that. She probably had to, of course, read protocols, regulations, all that as part of it. Because she did not go to the academy. She went to the Vulcan Science Academy.
I was going to say she could have researched it en route to the Shinjo, but warp takes minutes in that universe, so...
But it's Michael Burnham, so she probably studied it 5 times over in those minutes. Right?
Sorry, I just want to throw a joke in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I had to ruin it.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're sorry. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how she got the first officer position, honestly, because what we see of her in those episodes are not stellar at all. Like, we get this, walk and talk with Giorgio, like, oh, I think you're ready for the next step, Michael. Da, 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 da. It's like, okay, well, that's not enough for me, because literally a minute later, we see her being stupid.
She points a gun at her captain.
Because the captain won't fire at something that's not doing anything.
Because she won't start a war. Has any of these officers actually shot their captain? And she did. She net pinched. But have any actually pointed a phaser at their captain while in a sane mind?
I'm thinking.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if any have actually.
No.
I'd love to say.
I mean, Spock killed her, but on fire.
I'd love to say Chakotay probably did, but I don't think. I know in the Holo did, obviously, but I actually might want to point a gun at her captain. God damn it, Discovery! And they play it off as if it's nothing as well. That's a big deal, you know.
You know, even the whole premise of that Vulcan hello pisses me off.
It's so wrong. It's a misunderstanding.
I'm sorry, but yeah, like. Anyway, whatever. That's another conversation. I'm sure we've had that conversation.
Didn't understand Vulcans. Didn't understand Star Trek. Clearly.
Or Klingons. Klingons are just
invent a radical sect. Fine. Then have normal Klingons for everyone else. Great. Great idea. You know.
Yeah.
You know. Well, you do some super chats, and I'll say what they did in the book just to remind the audience because it is interesting.
We are caught up on super chats.
Okay, great. Yeah, so in the book, it's very much they've just been working on the ship for long enough, and it's just a toss up of you're both the high rank. Shall I either make Saru or Burnham XO? That's it. There's no great swath there. And then she gets it, and that's it. It's very underwhelming. It would have been. I mean, obviously the whole Discovery season 1 was a flawed concept, and even in season 3, when she's second in command for like 3 episodes, she's fine. But it's a whole different show at that point, so it's not any great. You know what I mean? That's not an achievement in itself. Like, you're fine. So she's obviously just. But it is true that level of not being in Starfleet. That's gonna. I don't know why you would think give that person a XO role. You know, you would think they should at least a semester at the academy for command, because it's not just about serving the science of the mission. It's about serving the crew, their needs in Starfleet, and their role in Starfleet. If you have not done any of the Starfleet basics, you might understand in vague concept, but you haven't done the 4 years of training. Vulcans do not train the same as humans. They never did. They never will. So she's a great officer because of her Vulcan knowledge, but XO is a different role to give to that person, especially since she had no people skills.
Yeah. Proven 22X. Point a gun at the captain. That's not diplomatic. Brig her, in my opinion. You think? Oh, my God. Who else said it? There's another one that said... Ryan K. I don't agree with her course of action. I know. Mutiny. Yeah. Trek reviewer. was ever said that Picard, Sisko, or Janeway ever served as first officer, because keep in mind, in the books, Picard was in second officer of Stargazer when he was forced to take command, and I do not think it was made clear that Sisko was the first officer on the Saratoga in the DS9 pilot. That's a good question, actually. I think he was second officer, though. I think there is a line talking about that. But I could be wrong. I think Samuel's looking that up right now.
My gut was that he wasn't, but that scene is so short that that doesn't come through. It really doesn't.
My gut is that he is.
Well, I'm looking at his rank. He's actually lieutenant commander in that episode, so that sort of precludes him anyway. But the fact is, he's a commander for DS9, so he was never a second in command because he was put in command of a space station, which was weird because he was a commander.
As a commander, not a captain.
Yeah. So that he kind of skipped that step. I mean, maybe he can be lieutenant command, second in command of a ship, but I don't know why you would be, given that sort of breaks the point of it. Unless he's like mega ultra Superman. And honestly, do you have time to be a second in command with a child and a, like, you know what I mean, and a wife on board? That feels a lot of responsibility to have along. It's like one of the hardest jobs in terms of like stuff you gotta do. I'm saying you can't do it, just. Oh no, it does say so the first officer. But lieutenant commander though, that's weird.
So he was the first officer, yeah, because I thought there was a line of dialogue saying something about that.
Maybe just got the pips wrong. And then Janeway, I mean, I think Janeway was on a science ship, but they sort of obviously go through it quite quickly. Because I mean, you are meant to be first officer. That's how you get command. You prove you can do it as a first officer. That's part of the whole point, you know.
And going back to what you were saying about Michael Burnham and not having people skills, that's why commanders get the rank of first officers, because they've climbed up through the ranks. They know the people, they know the departments, they know what they're doing. That's why they get that role, because they are the ones that are basically the linchpin between the captain and the rest of the crew. Now, that being said, we just talked about TOS and how that isn't really the case, and Discovery is pre-TOS. I kind of get the feeling that Giorgio would be very much like a Kirk as far as hands-on with the crew goes.
I can see that.
So it's a little bit different dynamic if you think about it that way, I guess. But so yeah, it would make sense that she might not have raised up through the ranks to actually, you know.
Well, they're taking they're just analoging Spock. She's smart, he's smart. Science officer. That's all. There's no extra thought going in there. And it says that Janeway was a commander aboard the USS Billings, although you don't tend to be a command without being first in command. So I'm assuming she's second in command of the Billing. It's just an offhand mention they mention on an episode of Voyager.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And Picard, I think he was Stargazer.
And in Xango 76, Lieutenant Commander Cavett was Janeway's first officer before he died. So Janeway's first officer was Lieutenant Commander as well? That's interesting. Xango 76. Hopefully that's right. We have to check pips.
Okay.
Check pips.
Check pips.
Commander, do your job. I'm going to sit here and watch you. This is great. It's Captain.
I mean, that is literally the job, though. You tell me to do something, I'm doing all the work researching, while you just stand there and that's great.
I'm sorry. Tuning 3434. Haven't seen Voyager in a decade or maybe even two. I'm running on Starfleet debris fumes here. That's good.
Let's
see. Commanders in the U.S. Navy can be captains as in position. The first officer can be a lieutenant commander in the same respect, usually right before they are promoted. Yeah, I would buy that. That seems to make sense.
Yeah, he was lieutenant commander. That is weird.
Janeway says, "This is my first officer, Lieutenant Commander Cavett." Quoted, yeah.
The only issue is that they knew they were going to kill him on the second day of shooting, so they didn't. They didn't necessarily need to put any thought into his character at all. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the whole things. Unless he was like, unless he was like close to getting command. Although this was meant to be a very quick assignment. So this was meant to be literally a go out, collect, come back. on a brand new ship. This is their first cruise, so they may have just thrown literally, because there's no chemistry between him and the captain. It just feels like he was assigned to help her. She was assigned as captain. They go and do, he gets reassigned instantly. I didn't get the sense he was like, definitely wasn't her choice. Like she's not even sad for half a minute when he dies. You know what I mean? So I didn't get a sense of anything personal there.
Good point. 127 likes though, guys. 112 people here. That's great. This has been a fantastically fun discussion, by the way. So kudos to the Admiral for suggesting it. But let's get 3 more likes. Let's get to at least 130. I would like to get 140, but I don't know what the amount of people we have here if that's possible. So if you haven't hit that like button, guys.
I mean, try. Help. More the better. It is free. It is helpful. But it's true though. There's the who's the best first officer. Like you bring in Riker, he'll do his first officering the best, but he won't do the rest of the jobs the best. Whereas Spock is, while he might be less good as a people person first officer, he can actually do his jobs better, as a lot of them can. So by having a dedicated first officer, he's not this multi-purpose. Whereas Kira, Chakotay, you bring them on, they're going to do something specific.
Jeff Jacobs wants 150 likes for Jeff Jacobs, guys. 138 right now. We need 12 more likes. Or 12 people out there that have not hit the like button, please consider doing so.
And Hezraz,
is there any other first? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, Hezraz says about the interchange Lieutenant Commander and having called Commander. Yeah, but you regularly don't call Lieutenant Commander. It's an annoying shorthand. They just say Commander.
They just say Commander. Yes, we've noted that a few times actually.
Like they will sometimes say it if they need to, but they often just shorthand it, which is unhelpful to say the least.
Yeah.
But I mean,
True.
What's the other one? It's Lieutenant Commander. What's the other one? There's what's the one down? Oh, no, I guess it is just
Lieutenant.
No, I guess it is. Or Lieutenant Junior grade. Yeah, because Lieutenant Junior grade would just be Lieutenant. You wouldn't call him Lieutenant Junior grade.
Exactly, yes.
So it's like both ranks are the same annoying, non-divisional,
Yep. And Jeff Jacobs asks, who did the Admiral choose? Who did she choose? I don't even remember. Yeah, she went with Spock.
I mean, it's for different situations. Spock is a good go on science, but not if you want to chat. Ransom's the guy if you want to hang out with. Off duty. Kira's the girl if you want to go shoot things. Chakotay's the guy if you want to be doing one thing and you let him totally command another thing, because if you're doing something, he can be fully trusted to do the other thing as a captain.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yes.
Not that Riker can't, but he has more experience than Riker. Whereas Riker's better if you have like a crew emergency. Like I would rather Riker delegate with like 5 divisions on Chakotay. Chakotay can do it, but he's less energetic and fun and connective about it.
Yeah. I just realized I am the highest ranked person on this screen right now. Everyone beside me over there and underneath me are all commanders.
Well, Burnham's a captain now. You mean as of this picture?
No, as of this picture.
Okay.
Just saying. This is a good position to be in. I feel good. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Spock is one of those guys that's a perfectionist, OCD, and logical. So you know that everything he does as first officer is going to be done perfectly.
Just slowly, if it needs to be.
Yeah, it's going to be done right, though.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, they all have their advantages. I do like what you said about Chakotay being able to do his own thing while you're handling other stuff. Because yeah, he's basically been a captain for years in the Maquis, as far as leading people. So that's a great point. Riker you can also trust, even though he's kind of an idiot. Because Riker's the analog for the audience a lot of times, where he's like, "What? What's that mean? Hello, what's that?" And it's unfortunate that that's the writing, but there's the odd time where he's like kind of on the ball.
But like we said, he's not a specialist in these science things, and he's obviously been focused on commanding for a long time now. So he's not up to snuff with all the science stuff, which is fine. Which is also why Shelby comes in and she's like sharp with the stuff, and obviously she's been brought in the tactical situation where she is the sharp officer. if she was being sent to a gaseous anomaly, they'd be on the equal footing, you know? Which is fine. That works. Let's talk about Ransom for a minute as we're nearing to close out. And guys, another $30 would be ideal, and 7 likes.
Yes, another 7 likes. Yes, that'd be awesome.
30 and 7, which is totally doable. But Ransom's interesting because he's obviously played as this maverick, but he's also respects the captain a lot, likes the captain a lot, clearly very faithful and does his job. And as you know, when they had the episode where they aren't sleeping, and he's he's doing quite well, and he's saying what he's doing, and I was about to say Mariner, but Mariner's making fun of him. He's like, yeah, he's doing like what he's saying is fine. He's doing good team building stuff. She's just being a pissy girl right there. But so he seems pretty good. He just seems to be more able to let loose, more inappropriately. But it's like, he's a cartoon as well. I mean, is the Doctor really doing appropriate things when the Doctor's anything she says? No. So clearly those two roles aren't. Does the the tactical officer who changes rank between shots, who just quickly stops his pips? I'm not a tank commander, Captain. I'm commander, Captain. Drax.
Yeah, Ransom's played for last. Ransom's played for last. Like some episodes, he's like spot on, the perfect commander. Other ones, he's just kind of lifting his weights and not paying attention to what the hell's going on. Doesn't really care, So it's a tough call for that one because it's a different creature altogether. But Sergeant Montgomery, $2. T'Pol will always be my number one. Aw, was Enterprise the first one you watched? See, that's interesting. It's like Doctor Who generally, like a lot of people, their first Doctor is like their doctor, their go-to doctor, right? So,
which is funny because it doesn't actually even matter how good the season of the show is that you watch.
Exactly.
It's just that.
That being said, I watched Eccleston, or what the hell's his name?
Yeah, Eccleston.
Right before Matt Smith.
Oh no, it was Tennant. It was Eccleston, then Tennant, then Smith, then Capaldi, then Whittaker.
I watched Eccleston first, didn't watch any of Tennant, and then watched Matt Smith. And I still think Matt Smith is more the Doctor than Eccleston was.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, but that was the whole point. He wasn't very much Doctor-y. That was a big part of it.
But so let us know if that's your first Star Trek experience as Enterprise, Sergeant Montgomery.
Which is your favorite Doctor, obviously. That'd be funny live. Who's the best Doctor Who?
I don't know. I wouldn't have enough. I don't know enough about all of them to talk.
And I'll just make a slideshow of me meeting them all.
You bastard.
Yep. No, I could talk about all of those because I have a pretty in-depth knowledge about all of them. Which is it's good.
But yeah, so
25
4
bucks.
more likes, guys. 4 more likes. $25 would be awesome. If we've missed anybody, if there's anybody that we could talk about Mr. Racist. I don't like Data. In the next episode, we're going to review as his first officer, kind of a prick. But...
Yeah, but that's all about the situation. It's like Shelby. You can argue a lot of negative stuff about her, but then she gets the moments to shine. He's not getting moments to shine. And someone that's interesting to talk about is BLT guy. That's his name for Dylan, but the Equinox first officer.
I can't remember his name.
So he went through shit.
Yeah, I think Dan23 earlier was saying that he doesn't like that guy, but that's kind of the point. You're not supposed to really like those.
Yeah, if you do, there's something wrong with you. Like that's.
They give them a bit of an edge and cast them that way for a reason.
That Locutus, I really like that Locutus character. Whatever happened to him? It's like I really relate to Locutus.
Well, that Locutus guy though reminded me a lot of Patrick Stewart, like
just a better version. All that charisma of the Locutus character.
Dan23 says I would watch Samuel talk about Doctor Who for hours.
Yes, good. Oh yeah, Rowan Atkinson. Yes, he's a very good Doctor. He was extremely good. Max. Yes, Equinox. I mean, I think in terms of a first officer, he's probably very, very good because he helped keep his crew together. He supported his captain. He not only supported his captain, but he then over supported his captain to the point where the captain gave up, and he kept supporting his captain's actions. Like a first officer's job is also to keep his crew safe. It's just what he was doing was wrong. But
well, Devo77X says Decker. Well, Decker was a captain who's then like, no, by the way, you're going to be a first officer now. Oh, by the way, you're also going to be science officer. Oh, by the way, now you don't have to be science officer because Spock's back. Oh, by the way, now you're dead. So he wasn't really ever a first officer. He was just a captain that was...
I mean, he was before he was a captain. Let's be fair.
But we never saw that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but he was, I'm saying.
Yes.
Will Decker. With his pajama and his penis sticking out of the pajamas.
His penis pajamas.
What?
Jeff Jacobs.
That's interesting.
Okay.
A cadet Decker was mentioned to have served aboard the USS Discovery. An article on Starship.com suggests that it is likely that this cadet might be Will Decker.
Yeah, we heard that announcement on one of the when we did a review. There was, it was like, whatever, Decker report to whatever in the background.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's weird.
Yeah. Jeff Jacobs, 253, 150 plus. I knew we could. Nice job, all made Jeff pay. Yes, thank you very much to all of you for hitting that 152 goal. Yeah. We got another $20 would be amazing if we could. So, let's see. Trying to think of other first officers. Tuning 3434 says Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus Christ was ever a first officer.
Well, to God, you could argue.
Well, he's his son, though.
Can't your son be a first officer? I mean, it's nepotism.
No, that's the Holy Ghost. That's the Holy Ghost's job.
Okay.
I don't know what you're saying, Jesus Christ, about tuning 3434, but Chekhov was first officer on the Reliance, says Mr. Captain 93. He was. It was a science ship. He was a commander. I think he failed it. Well, I mean, he did all right, I guess. Well, again, let's send down the captain and the first officer on this away mission. No one else. The top two guys.
And also, be fair, the Reliant was a exclusively assigned ship to a science project. So we have no knowledge, because he was on the Enterprise only a few years ago as tactical officer. It's not a fair assumption that he was given that as a permanent assignment, given that it was already a temporary assignment ship. And the fact that he went then on back onto the Enterprise, again, implies he probably either requested it or was asked for it by the Black Captain, Terrell. So I would be hesitant to say he was finally got EXO, because that was never really the context. And it's like, well, then he had, wow, what a demotion.
Yeah.
Well, what a promotion, then demotion.
Michael Anderson says, if Cadet Decker is supposed to be Will, what happens to TMP if the cadet followed Discovery to the 32nd century? Well, a lot of people left the ship between the first season and when that happened, so
oh yeah, God,
wouldn't be on the ship.
Especially the first season as well.
And Jeff says, can't recall his name, but what about the hologram first officer in Picard? Well, Rios, who...
Yes, we were going to talk back on him, weren't we?
Yeah, because he was a Starfleet first officer.
So as Captain Navid, what's it called? The Ibn Majid.
Ibn Majid.
Yeah.
Ibn Majid or something like that. Yeah. I wish they just named them things I can say. Like I can't even say what Riker's ship was. The Shang Chu or Sung Su or
Zhen He.
Zhen He, that's the one. Goddamn.
But say it in a non-eloquent way. You're saying the smooth jazz way. The Zhen He.
Zhen He.
Torkan Damada.
It's just
how we say that.
Torcotomy. Yeah. God damn it! Stop.
Yes.
Getting tongue-tied now. No, Rios. I mean, we don't know much about him as a first officer. We know he saw his captain blow his brains out. And I like Rios as a character. I really do in Picard. Him in all of his holographic iterations. But I mean, you can tell he's got that mindset of a commander or at least a Starfleet officer because of the way he wants to help Picard. And it's even kind of mentioned that, you know, the amazing Picard, you know, you couldn't resist yourself to help him out and, you know, try to be in that commander role again almost. That's what it seems like. Remember that conversation that they had with, was it Raffi? Where she's like, yeah, the great Picard comes on board and you're all like, woo. And he's lacking the structure of Starfleet for years. He seems like he would have been a good first officer, honestly.
Well, he rings to me as a guy, like he's good in the show. He was the surprise hit, whereas Seven was the surprise disappointment. Rios strikes me as he was all aboard the Starfleet train, and then he had such a traumatic incident that broke him, and broke his belief in everything because they want, we know why it was in the story, and so we see the shell of Rios, but there is still that gooey center of the officer who still lives the life as an officer, but he can't be part of Starfleet anymore. So if that hadn't have happened, he probably would easily. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be captain at that point, potentially. So I think he was. I think that's the whole point. He is like a textbook good officer, clean, straight officer, who then fell from grace because of trauma. That's the story we haven't seen before in that way. So I guess kind of like Chakotay in a sense, although one's a very graphic death, one's a very family death. But yeah, certainly, and it is definitely nice when he respects Picard enough to actually respect him, etc.
Yeah. I don't think you can talk to any of the holograms being the first officer because there's a tactical officer.
Well, there's no science officer, there's no first officer. They're all just Rios and the emergency holograms. There's no. Yeah. Although Trek Viewer asks, who was Spock's first officer in Star Trek 2 before Kirk took command because Sulu was only there at Kirk's request? No one. It was a training ship. You don't need a first officer on a training ship. Well, one of the cadets was, I'm sure. Like, you don't need like I'm sure even
maybe an Ensign Tilly.
Yeah. Tilly's daughter or Tilly's cousin. There you go. Well, I'm sure because that was obviously a special day. I mean, why would you need Bones on a training exercise for Savick to not play any part on the bridge? It's because Kirk was going to be there. It was all because it was Admiral Inspection, so they got the A-star people back together to make it a bigger challenge. None of them are normally doing that. I guarantee it.
Those were the best students of the class. By the way, Admiral Kirk's going to be here this day. You guys are doing this training simulation that day. And of course, Kirk's hanging out with his buddies.
Yeah, it's an excuse to see them as well. So no, it means Spock's just training cadets on the Enterprise. It's not an active ship. It's a training ship. And then it gets taken by Kirk to do things. Which is part of the beautiful sadness of episode 2 of Wrath of Khan, because they are like cadets. They are not the right crew, but they push themselves really hard. Like, they do a lot of good stuff. And that's why it's sad. I kind of wish I almost pushed that angle even more, because it actually can be even sadder, actually.
Yeah, there would be like a few seasoned officers probably as department heads.
Oh
maybe.
God, yeah.
But not the full crew, absolutely. E.R. Mixon's Craziest Theory says Savick would have been that role as clearly the senior most student. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
But obviously, as an ensign, like, no one's really abstractly they're the second in command, but as a training exercise. Although that's interesting though, because if we assume that for a second, which is fair, but I think still a slight stretch, does that mean that Savick is choosing a command path in the academy because only one or are they assigned it even if they don't want it? Because to volunteer to be the XO of a training cruise should he imply something about your character. She doesn't just want to be the science officer.
I can see a bit of both, like the best students being able to pick what they'd like to do, at least simulation wise. But I can also see the instructor saying, "You, who's always in the back and kind of an asshole, you're going to be the XO on this one. Get up here."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, prove yourself to me because I know you can do better or whatever, right? So, I don't know.
And obviously, Devereaux choosing command of simulation. Yeah, but that just happened to be the one we saw. I'm sure every single crew member got that as well. That was just her
everybody
day.
Gets a turn.
The Kobayashi Maru is not a special thing. Everybody and the dog does it. They all do it.
Except Spock never did. He never took the Kobayashi Maru tests until he died. It's in his dialogue. Never took the Kobayashi Maru tests until now. What do you think of my solution?
Oh.
Yeah. He's the only one that never took it. But then JJ takes that and says, well, he programmed the simulation, so duh.
Even though his age doesn't fit and his skill set doesn't fit and his experience doesn't fit and his mentality doesn't fit. And
Right. So anyway, yeah, Spock. You don't have to take the Kobayashi Maru test, is the feeling that I get, but everybody tries it.
Well, I feel like Spock being half and half, he would stand out any which way, like by happenstance. And so, if 9 out of his 10 cadet friends are going left, he's like, I don't want to. And they're like, but everyone does it. It's like, yeah, but you don't have to. So like,
if everyone jumped off a cliff, would you do it?
Well, yeah, because of the parachute. That's the whole point of it.
Oh no, but the parachute has a hole in it. It's Kobayashi Maru, man.
But it was holograms. It's fine. No, that's really interesting. Really, really interesting. God, my goodness. So much nuance.
Jeffrey Jacobs. I know. How about Riker as the Klingon XO and vice versa?
He did good.
I just rewatched that episode, and that's a fantastic episode. I really wish that Klingon, that was the actual XO of the ship, would have come back at some point, because the relationship that him and Riker built during that was really, really good.
Yeah, it was shocking how much they didn't bring back. I know they didn't need to, but I don't know if they didn't want to. They should have. There's so many strong one-offs in TNG they should have brought back for like Shelby as well. Shocking they didn't.
Yeah. Preston M. Raffi was Picard's first officer on the USS Verity. I mean, we can't really talk about Raffi as a first officer because she's probably pretty pathetic, considering that after Picard left or got kicked out, she decided to do the same. I don't know why she would have got kicked out. So she probably chose to leave?
Well, they said I'm probably getting fired. And it's like, A, you don't get fired. B, you didn't do anything yourself. See, a court-martial would be worse. He would say that actively. And he would know that because it's a big deal to get court-martialed. Few people get court-martialed. But again, Michael Chabon didn't do his proper research on... Well, it was a reshoot, but, just didn't do proper research on Star Trek, which is odd.
But we saw her as his first officer in the Countdown comic. And she's like, hey, JL, how's it going, man? Listen, I'm your first officer. I can call you JL.
He's like 80. Why are you calling an 80-year-old man a 2-letter nickname? Have more damn respect.
To make him feel younger.
I mean, that's a good point, but Jesus Christ. Oi, oi, oi.
It's just to show a familiar.
Well, it shows she's the best first officer he never had. She's better than Riker because Riker couldn't call him John Luke. That's the whole point. She's the best first officer he ever had. Just a pathetic character overall.
Yes, yeah.
Good actress, but most actors on Star Trek are good actors. they cast good people. That's a big crap characters.
Well, guys.
Yes. Well, $2. I mean, come on. Let's round it up.
Yeah, we could do $2 would be good. And 3 more likes. Let's try to get to 160. If you haven't hit like yet, might as well.
And Trek reviewer, absolutely true. I think Raffi was more Picard's aide rather than first officer. Yes, I got that vibe too. His attaché rather than actually like...
Yeah, because he was an admiral. He wasn't a captain.
Exactly. And he was doing specific... Verity was a rescue ship. He was leading a... hold on. And Picard was leading a rescue armada, not a mission. Like, so yeah, it's not. That's not a standard style of whatever. And I'm sure she also got dragged in because she had certain experience with the Romulans because she's a code breaker. So as it wasn't a natural like, oh yeah, be my first officer. Okay, it's very specific and weird.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Can't remember now. God damn it. Oh, yes. Sergeant Montgomery was the first Super Chat. He was also sniping for the last Super Chat slot the other day. So, Sergeant Montgomery, if you're still here and you want to snipe for that last Super Chat slot, it's available. Jeff Jacobs had it until Matt Boardman just sniped in with $10. The 1812 Overture snipe. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you, Matt. Much appreciated. So, yeah. 2 more likes. Probably not.
No, it was a real interesting discussion actually.
It was. It actually went down some paths that I really enjoyed. So.
Because that's what I like about what we do. We break down very specific moments and talk about them where you don't tend to. And while neither of us necessarily focus on the morals, messages, and meanings like Mission Log, which is fine and interesting, this is like just real hardcore shit, but we approach it in a very like factual way, and having such a broad range of people who all share the same space. There's so many layers to working out what, who, how, and if does. Really interesting. Yeah.
And Sergeant Montgomery is here with a $2 snipe. Who lets the snipe out? Oh, then Preston M snipes with $2. So.
What's that?
And we still need 2 more likes. 2 more likes.
Oh, only 2.
Like snipes.
What's
like
that?
snipes.
Ooh.
Hashtag like snipes. There's a new hashtag for you guys.
Or if you want a rocket launcher, then send us 50 likes.
Ooh. How did they do that?
I don't know.
Make 50 accounts.
That would be a like tornado. That would be a. I mean, can you have 50 tabs open? Or... I guess you've got Chrome, Firefox, Chrome Incognito, Edge. Safari, Edge, and then you got your phone, and your laptop, and your wife's PC, and your wife's computer.
Possibilities.
Goodness.
Matt Boardman, $2. Make sure to have your pet sniped or neutered. Oh, I think he means snipped.
I think he means.
But I read it as sniped, and that sounds really, really awful. By the way.
I think he means what he means.
Damn, they're spelled the same. Oh no, snipped has 2 P's. No, so no, it is sniped. So Matt, you're an awful person.
It was real funny though.
It is. We had 160 likes, so that's a good place. Matt Boardman says, now I need a like snipes t-shirt. Trekyards t-shirt.
That's true. That would be good.
We need to do some new stuff. And actually, I still haven't set up that damn store with Raluca.
Oh, you haven't? Oh dear.
The store's set up. I just have to do some shirt designs. So there we go. We got some.
We should. Oh, did it ever go back about CBS licensing? Because
they sent us a list. They sent us a list.
Did they? I never saw that. Oh, yesterday you said.
It was the next day that we talked to her. She had that list sent. It was in the email on how to set up the store.
Too. Oh, as soon as I saw that tagline, I was like, it's Stuart's job. Oh, after that.
Preston M, $2. That's why it hasn't been done yet. Preston M, $2. This isn't The Price is Right, Matt. Wow. Sergeant Montgomery, $2. Number 1 snipe. All right, that's a good place to end it because Sergeant Montgomery started the super chats.
Well, although I do want to briefly, because this will be our last live of the week, I do want to just. I'm on the same microphone. Do I sound the same?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just because I've announced 2 posters, I can briefly say them here as well for the thingy coming. Just briefly. So yesterday I announced that we're bringing back. This is the project we teased, I guess, the day before yesterday. Indiegogo launching 30th of April. 2 actors already announced as part of the cast. These are obviously fan film actors, but as you can see, high-level costumes, and they've been the guys that have been behind their projects for years. They have the most experience in acting, etc. And my tagline is Trek Shorts by fans for fans. Pretty clear the intention. It's very, very straightforward. Trek Shorts with an S, more than one, and by fans for fans. So Nick Cook coming back as Daniel Hunter from Intrepid, who's been going the longest out of all of them, over like 12 years. Wonderful guy, made loads of costumes, really talented guy. And also Gary from Dreadnought Dominion, who is Dreadnought Show Dad. Stuart, Dreadnought. Stuart. I've seen TOS and I got really confused there for a second. Dreadnought Stuart. Woo. Yes, he likes Dreadnought. And Gary has also been doing fan films for like 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And he has lots of episodes, and he's joining in as both his character from Dreadnought Dominion and a post-TNG Admiral, as he happens to have a good costume for each. So that's the first 2 casts announced, and by the time we get to next week, more will be announced every day, 1 a day until the 30th, which will be the launching of the Indiegogo. And if you want to support us, please do, because we've got some really cool stuff planned. Stuart can attest to that.
I can, and I do, in a video.
Yes.
Anyway, Jeff Jacobs, $2 with hashtag like snipes. Yes. And hashtag make Jeff pay. Sergeant Montgomery, I'm sorry. I tried to close us out while you were still in the last super chat slot, but anyway, that's it for now. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night for a Trekkie trivia night.
I will have no power tomorrow, so That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, Matt Borman, $5. Hope you all donate to the Indiegogo. It's going to be great. Dun dun dun. Good place to leave it.
And 160
Until
likes.
then, guys.
160 likes. Mixture.
Yeah. Yes, I know. I said that already.
Oh, okay, sorry. Bye.
Until then, guys. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Cockings, the best first officer of this live.
That's right.